So, Joachim, our Q3 report has been published today, but I would like to start with talking about our technology and our patents. How do you see this company and the width that we have within technology and our IP?
Yeah, it is broad. It is very broad. I'm sort of both. I'm proud that we are such a technology company. I don't know any company who has as many patents. We probably have two patent applications per employee. I don't think there is many companies in Sweden who has that, and also the whole team working on taking these ideas into software is just doing an amazing job. But it's also scary because we're very thin because we are not many people in the company. But I wouldn't like to be without all those technical ideas and patents and software. But the challenge is now is to turn it to revenue. That's what we need to do.
Yeah. And let's start focusing a bit about our mobile payment solution. We started with Blipit, and we are now focusing more on our offline mobile payment solution. So how does these two sort of relate to each other?
I think Blipit could really get a big renaissance with offline because offline payments is the way it's sort of set up is that you digitally sign. You have an offline balance on your phone and you sign off that you're using some of that. That needs to be transferred to the merchant on the other side. And that to receive that payment, it could go to his billing machine, that cash register, and there Blipit could play a role there. Then the offline solution, we collect these transactions on either side, and whenever we get access to the cloud, then those transactions are sent up for settlement. But it's we announced something about a month ago, which was very important, is that we made ourselves independent of the proximity solution. We used to be, and we were very focused on solutions around Bluetooth, and we're really experts in it. And the whole app terminal from Blipit was an example of that, of how we developed a way for a mobile phone to connect to a PC. But with the offline solution, we are agnostic. We could transfer that payment from your customer's phone to a merchant in any way. This could be that the merchant is scanning a QR code from the customer's phone, but we can certainly use Bluetooth as well, using Proxy Link, as we talked about, or via Blipit, but we can also use NFC, or we could use ultrasound. We're completely agnostic to the way that is being sort of transferred. I think the offline solution has taken us that we have a great component that really adds something to any digital payment service in the world. Regardless of the rail they are using, they can be using instant payment, like Swish is a type of instant payment mechanism. They could be using the card infrastructure. They could be using the central bank plan for digital currency. That is also like a rail. So whatever that is, how you settle it, we're completely independent from that. We're completely independent for what sort of device the merchant is using to verify it. It could be a phone, it could be a PC. How it's transferred, we're independent from that. And we're also independent of how you create that balance. You have a bit of a balance on your phone. That could be created by credit. It could be created by you pre-authorize a blocking in an account, or maybe that you actually create a separate account, like a sub wallet that is mirroring what you have on your phone. So we're no matter how you do it, we have the business logic to make it happen, but we are now at the stage where we have an extremely flexible solution that will fit into any digital payment service of the world, really, which is exciting.
Yeah. And what kind of problem can we solve with this?
Yeah. The problem we solve with offline is, I think, a problem which is a must problem. I think one of the things that we had with Blipit, that what we attacked with Blipit, if I start there, is that was a problem of trying to make payments more smooth. Making a more smooth payment experience. That's what Blipit solved, really. Using a mobile app, paying in a store in a more smooth way. And that's still there. And it's a nice problem to solve. But there are ways to do that in other ways, like scanning a QR code, which is quite common. Certainly in India, that is the way they are extremely used to in the entire market. But with offline payments, it's a must problem because the transactions simply don't work. We have in Sweden, because we are so reliant right now on digital payments, when something crashes in a quite a fragile online world, this could be BankID, this could be the payment service itself, it could be the bank, it could be there is a base station that goes down, there's so much that could go wrong. Our offline solution is completely sort of insulated from that. It always works swimmingly, the payment itself, no matter what. We sort of have separated the transaction. That always happens instant, frictionless, and then the settlement. Yeah, that can happen, an hour later or 2 minutes later or next day. It doesn't matter, and that's a beautiful idea that sort of takes a lot of pain away. In India, they don't have the luxury of our IT infrastructure, so they have often it doesn't work. But what we've learned now in India is that in this situation of COVID, people do not want to use cash. In India, it's still cash. In Sweden, we have 9% of our transactions are cash. In India, it's still about 80%. So it's a cash society. So they certainly have an offline currency using their cash, but people don't want to touch it anymore. So that means that right now, there is a lot of increase in mobile payments, digital payments. That's what people want to use. But that has put so much stress on the bank servers. So they're in the UPI, Unified Payment Interface rail for instant payment, you have 20 seconds. The bank needs to respond within 20 seconds. If it doesn't, it's a failed transaction. And right now, some of the major banks, they have more than 5% of their transactions are fails because people stand there and wait for up to 20 seconds and then it just says denied or declined, I should say, because you have the money, but the bank server simply can't cope. But imagine our solution for India. We have a queuing system. Every single phone can just queue it. They just log all these transactions. So again, the transaction in the store itself is instant. You don't have to wait 10, 15 seconds to get a response. It's instant. And then you just log it. And then when the bank servers allow, or when you have internet connectivity, you send it up. Yeah, we're getting so much praise from India. They think we have a brilliant solution, and I'm just dying to get that out in that market because it's the fastest growing in the world with 2 billion transactions. And one thing which was cool this last week, WhatsApp, that chatting app. Yep. Everybody, all Indians has that on their smartphone, almost. So that's 500 million Indians are now able, they have an app which they can pay with. So now they're thinking it's not going to stand at 2 billion transactions. Soon they will have 3, 4, 5 billion. And imagine what will happen to the bank service. They can't cope unless they have our solution.
That's really beautiful, actually. If we move back to Sweden for just an instance, we did a webinar series,
yes.
3 episodes actually, about the role of the state in digital payments, which is a really interesting question, actually. What are your key insights from this series that we did?
Yeah, no, I'm really glad we did it. It was. I think we learned a lot from preparing for it. When we applied for the patent for offline solutions, we said it already in that press release that came in January that this has a bearing on digital currency from the central banks. We sort of saw that because cash is offline, and this is a digital version that. So we that's why we want to engage in this area, and we set up 3 webinars. The first one being focused on actually the questions that the Swedish central bank raised to our parliament. What is our role? So we focus on discussing that, and I was very happy that the director for payments at Central Bank in Sweden was there to really explain, and it was a really quite an interesting discussion. We had the head of MasterCard for the Nordics was there, and a payment expert from the Swedish Merchandise Association. It was a good discussion on setting the scene. Second one, we talked about technology. What are the technology? And we had Accenture there, who have developed this pilot for the Swedish digital currency. We had Swish there, which is sort of the new player here with a fantastic mobile payment. And we had our CTO there, who can talk about offline. And that was sort of the second. The third one then, we had the politicians. And this is where I think all the insights came from. We really tied them together. These were three politicians, all sitting in the finance committee of the Swedish parliament. And I think they said a few things. They said, you have to provide a value-based e-krona. The e-currency should be value-based. That means that it should be represented in a card or on the phone. It shouldn't be account-based, because then all of a sudden the central bank would start competing with the commercial banks. The central bank is a bank of the banks. It's not the banks for the public in that sense. So I think that was off limits. Focus on, a value-based e-currency, which is great, because I think it's that is what cash is today. You have money locally and you can use that, and that's I think fits with our vision as well. Then we learned that offline is a must. They talk about robustness is what we need to have. I think the politician sees the problem with a society that quickly where cash is disappearing. The problem is not that it's not the state who is not guaranteeing a currency anymore. The problem is for the society that our means of payment, which is offline, meaning cash, that's gone. So they need a new offline solution. That's for sure. The other thing that I think some politicians also stressed a lot was the issue of the ability to be anonymous and to have integrity. That's two different things. Anonymous is that when I pay, I don't have to identify myself. I can be anonymous, just like with cash. Integrity is all about that only myself and you that I pay is aware. Not even the banks should be aware. And I think that the politicians, they were stressing that that's important. And guess what? We can do the anonymous and the integrity part with our offline solution as well, which is really quite a strong point, that anonymous and integrity is something we can deliver. The other thing we learned as well, which was really nice, is that in a society where if we have a real crisis scenario, this is this perspective that the Swedish Central Bank has. We're not looking at sort of Swish has gone down for a few hours and bank ED is down, or it comes up. We survive that. But what if it happens for days? Something goes wrong. Our telecom network is down and we simply can't access anymore. I think there was the guy from Accenture who said, John said, well, 2 to 3 days, the whole market is out of liquidity, and then we have a huge problem. And it doesn't happen every year, but we certainly have learned now with the pandemic that unusual thing can happen. And that's the perspective that the central bank has. And the beauty with our offline solution is that it's not just an offline payment solution where you can pay locally offline. Like I can pay you, we are in proximity. Our offline solution is also a way to pay wide area, remote, because you could direct a payment straight into our offline wallet and you can send it by mail. And so that is a way to not asking the whole Swedish society keep cash in your mattress if there is, because that won't work. But we can even supply liquidity, cash, digital cash in that crisis scenario. And that I think was also a key insight, that problem is important to solve. And I'm quite happy that, yes, check on that as well.
Exactly. So let's change our focus for a while. Another very exciting development that we have is our concept around dynamic pricing.
Yes.
So, what is dynamic pricing, and how can dynamic pricing be used?
It's all about, if we take one step back, what dynamic pricing, it sounds it's quite technical, but I think it's all about one of our sustainability goals of the world. United Nations has 17 sustainability goals. One of those goals is to reduce food scrapping to half. And I think this is a huge, it's one of these, I think it's the goal 12.3.
Yep.
Is the goal for food scrapping. It should be halved by 2030. So in just less than 10 years, it should be halved. And how do you do that? But and one of the things that this is actually one of my innovations, that I sort of put together technology from a few sides. We're working a lot with cash register with Blipit. We have the relationship with Clearon and how they do with coupons. And I realized that when GS1, they are the ones that are putting on all merchandise. There is these barcodes, but they will develop that. Soon there won't be sort of stripes. It will be squares instead, like a QR code. And in that QR code, you have a machine-readable code where the manufacturer could put in things like the expiry date for a milk carton or something. And the idea I had was that, what if we can get all the consumers to engage them in a way to not always taking the freshest milk. Why, if we give them an incentive, we can change your behavior here, and that would lend itself that it's almost like that you get a discount coupon. But this discount coupon is not something you carry a piece of paper. Every single package is a potential discount coupon. That when you come to the cash register, then that is being created, and you are rewarded a discount for being a nice citizen of not taking maybe the latest one. And that is a way to change your behavior. And imagine, this is a huge problem for the fast-moving consumer goods industry. They spend a lot of time of maintaining this. And if we can get this out, then we will, I think, we will help the climate, we will save costs for the industry, and we will give a nice discount to the consumers as well. And it's an important problem to solve, even being recognized by the UN. And we happen to have it's a Swedish patent right now, but we have also applied for an international patent, and that has been also been examined, and we have no doubts that will also we can actually decide on what countries we want to take this to. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
So it's a new area that we have one person in our company that have a lot of good experience in this area. Linda has she worked at Nielsen, who has a lot of things with data coming from the cash register, and she worked previously at GS1. Who is developing this standard for that you mark on the on all the packages, really. So she knows a lot about this, and has been around, talked to many sort of different companies, and everybody's just applauding, and they want to be involved, and that's what we felt urged to. We felt we need to tell the market that. This is an area that excites people in the industry. So it's a bit peripheral to what we do, but as we said earlier, we couldn't say no. We had the idea, and we got the patent for it.
Exactly. So we also have our gesture interaction business, of course.
Yes.
And we have been working a lot with our XR skeleton product this quarter.
Yeah.
But what would you say makes Crunchfish unique within AR and gesture interactions?
Yeah. I think where we are now is really where it gets excited. I think it's we sort of took an approach when I stepped in as CEO to say, well, let's not run around and chase pilot projects for industrial AR. Let's let them work for a while now, because I think the reason why we didn't want to do that is that they were not even paying the sales cost. So let's just let them take the product to the next level. And that was then the skeleton approach here. And it's gone really well. I think the team has been super happy that they are left alone and they've been developing. And I think the level we are right now is exciting because I like this comparison. Zlatan, he once said to an English Premier League player that what you can do with a soccer ball, I can do with an orange. And I think that explains our uniqueness, because without technology, we don't need heavy and sophisticated sensors. We can do with a simple VGA camera. That's the same sensor that sits on a mobile phone. We don't need any sort of fancy stuff. We don't need much processing power. We are constrained by what's in the mobile phone, or that sort of very constrained environment. And to be able to deliver high precision gesture control in such a constrained environment, that's world class, and we can do that. And we're waiting for now this consumer AR glasses market to come, because as everybody has been saying, this is our new sort of equivalent of a mobile phone. The time in human history where we all walk like this, with a bent neck like that, that's soon over, because we're going to lift our eyes and we're going to look people in the eye, and we're going to interact through these sort of smart glasses. That's going to be our new device. But how are you going to control them? Well, gestures. And who's going to deliver that solution? Well, Crunchfish. So we're quite excited about what we do in this area, and that sets us apart a bit in the market. Everybody can do gesture control in a lab environment, but for this sort of quite real world example with very constrained resources and not sophisticated sensors, I know no other companies than Crunchfish who can deliver that, and our team is super to do that.
So, an important question: mobile payments, offline, gesture interaction, dynamic pricing. But when is the revenue coming?
Yeah, isn't that the $1 million question?
The $1 million question.
Yes. When will we ever in this company start making money? How many more innovations will we pop out? Yeah, we are close. And we are close in the area of offline payments. This has been. I don't think we're close in Sweden for the central bank project. That is more of a longer term thing. I think it's great that we're part of it, because we can look at other maybe markets. They've started with central bank digital currency. Bahamas, actually 2 weeks ago, was the first one out. Kind of interesting, but. It's still a bit long term. But our offline solution is actually a solution for any mobile wallet in the world. And what's excited us, what happened this quarter as well, was that the Central Bank of India, what is called the Reserve Bank of India, RBI, they actively encourage the market. You need to start with offline payments. And all of a sudden, everybody we talk to, because we had that. I had 2 trips to India in the beginning of the year, and we came, our slogan was swimmingly easy payments offline. And everybody thought, offline? How does that work? We haven't heard of that before. And we sort of had to explain it. They thought it was interesting. And then came the pandemic. Everybody was, in a quarantine for 4 months. But in August, this RBI circular came out and saying, go for offline payments. That meant that these people we have talked to, all these organizations, they put people responsible to develop an offline solution. And guess what? Well, we had a head start. We also have patent pending on it. So there's so many of these discussions that are super exciting right now. So we are really we are in deeply engaged. Not only talking to specific wallets, but also talking to the rail itself. This is the rail of, UPI is one rail, obviously, where they did 2 billion transactions. But we're also talking to the card rail, which is sort of also super interesting. In Sweden, we know card payments, and we're talking to the actual network providers themselves, because they see a great opportunity, because with our solution, they don't have to rely on merchants buying car terminals. In India, 60 million merchants, only maybe 2 or 3 have car terminals. There's 57 million merchants in India who do not have that. They are dying to get into that market. our offline solution is sort of certainly an avenue for them, and they understand that. And this is a product they don't have. They don't have the payment product that can work offline. But so we're talking to them as well. So right now, I think our focus has gone all focused on this offline solution, and we're so happy that we have this partnership project that we talked about last 3 months ago, because it started with that we also have this partnership with Viki that provides that secure element for us that we can run our trusted application within. So we've done tremendous development in this quarter, and we are right now so close to actually doing proof of concept and pilots in the fastest growing market in the world, and that will turn into revenue. For food scrapping, dynamic pricing, I think it's a little bit further out. For gesture control for the consumer market, it is getting there, but I think we need a market to someone like Apple, if it's Google or if it's Facebook. There are rumors on all of them that they will come with these consumer glasses for the market. The Chinese might even actually beat them to it, but that will be. I don't think that would change the market, but any of those 3 big ones here, like if Facebook, Apple, or Google comes with it, then all of a sudden everybody will look, okay, what's our response to that? We do have the gesture control that can control that environment, and that will drive revenue very quickly as well. But right now it's offline. It's offline, which I see, a great potential in. Blippit is there also, but it's still not. We're not solving a big enough problem there. So Blippit is a nice to have, whereas the offline is sort of a must-have in the market. So I have a lot of hopes for the offline solution for us.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting about how we solve the big problems, as you speak of.
Yeah,
that's the sort of the key takeaway.
Yeah, no, I think one other thing I like to look at it is, as we said, it's a limited time in human history where people walk like this, and all of a sudden you can take up your, and you have AR glasses. That's one thing. Likewise with, payment has always been local. You in the old days, you brought a cow, you pay with a cow, but then they invented cash instead. But it was always sort of local like that. But all of it, when digital payment came around, they sort of in some way made us dependent on this online cloud. I think we can take that back. We don't have to be independent. It's much better that you do the transaction, and whenever, if you need backup, you can go online to take more money, but you don't need that for the transaction itself. For any daily spend, just use offline. That's the default. So I think that's a much better way. And also the food scrapping thing, same thing. We never used to throw away this much food. That's something we've done in the last sort of, in our consumer-oriented society. We think that's a luxury. But we used to take care of, I remember my grandmother told me, what do you do with old bread? And I said, well, I thought I have to answer something smart. And I said, I'll give it to the birds. And she said, birds? You do bread pudding? Of course, she said. But that was the mentality. Yeah. But I think this is sort of our... we take this for granted, and food scrapping has to come down. That's the problem we're addressing. So I just love that we in Crunchfish address the big problems in a way, and we come with great technology solutions. And then I think what we now should focus on is try to, for our shareholders and for ourselves as well, let's just bring in some revenue as well around this.
I think that sounds like a good idea, and a very nice way to finish off this interview on. So thanks for a nice chat, and thanks for a nice quarter.
Thank you. Thank you.